Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Source of Food and this is Memory Lane. So welcome. If you're happening on this channel for the first time, this is where I talk about childhood memories as they were growing up in the 60s, the early 60s when I was born, going into the 70s and a little bit of the 80s. All right. Yeah, so stay tuned, sit still. We have a lot to talk about. So today I want to talk about, some of the animals we had around the house and how we found entertainment just having these animals around the place. Yeah, man. I can recall as a kid, we were, 4 or 5 years old. Sometimes we would go get the goats in the evening to bring them back home. Sometimes we would try to ride the goats. Yeah, we'll try to hitch a ride on top of some of the goats or bringing them back in from pasture or wherever they were. Yeah, most homes had domesticated animals, not pets. The only animal we had at home, or the animals we kept as pets, were cats and dogs, of course, right? It was not known. Jamaicans back in those days were not known to keep pets at home. Even the dog that we had at home was not a pet per se. Most people had a dog at home as a guard dog, right? If it's not even a real guard dog, the dog would be there to alert you when someone is coming into your yard, and to help you do other stuff around the place. People who had cats at home had cats to help them deal with rats and mice, around the place, because animals are outside. Animals weren't even allowed, at least in my community, in rural Jamaica, Manchester, where I'm from. Animals slept outside. The cat slept outside, or if the cat can find somewhere warm to sleep, the cat would sleep outside. Dogs slept outside. In the nights you would hear the dog barking for whatever reason, and it would be a chorus because your dog is barking, and 3, 4, 5 other neighbors' dogs, they're barking. So dogs were all over the place. A lot of stray dogs sometimes. That's what life was like, in rural Jamaica, and probably it is similar that way even today, right? So a lot of people had animals at home for whatever reason. If someone had a pig at home, the pig was there as a source of food at some point, right? If we had goats, the goats were there as a source of meat at some point, or to sell when they reach a certain maturity, to get some money. Some people were fortunate to have cows. We could not afford cows, right? And of course most people had chickens around the house, right? So one of the fun thing about having animals at home, believe it or not, it's just, it's just for me as a kid back then was just watching the way some of these animals interact. I used to love to sit and watch, a hen with a brood of chicken, and how she would try to protect her chicken. I found those things really fascinating. When the goat, when the mother goat had kids, it was just fun. I love, even to this day, I love baby animals. You know, um, but one of the fun thing though, I can't believe I'm gonna talk about this, was some of the roosters that were around the place, right? um, most homes that had, some hens would also have a rooster, right? And some homes would have maybe more than one, maybe up to three roosters. Now, in a home, one rooster will always try to be the alpha male, the dominant male, right? And 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 this would create a lot of problems. The worst is when a dominant or an alpha male from a neighbor's house comes on your property and want to mate with the hen, on my property, or in my home. Now there might be an alpha male in my home already. So you see where I'm going with this. So one of the fascinating thing for me is to see the interact. One of the fascinating thing was for me to observe the interaction between the roosters, and the outcome of some of these interactions, right? When one, a dominant or so-called dominant rooster coming from next door and want to take over, the hen at my house, and my rooster would say, yeah, he's not going to have none of that. And then what would ensue from there? A fight. So as a kid, I've heard about all these illegal fights, rooster fights or cockfight as we would call them, happening in other parts of Jamaica. People would raise these roosters. They would actually rear them, right, and train them to fight. And I don't think it's Jamaica alone. Maybe other parts of the world that might happen. I personally have never seen any of those fights. What I hear is that people would actually bet on these fights, and bet on a certain rooster to beat or to really seriously injure another rooster. I've never seen that, but I've seen the domestic fights. I have sit and watched the domestic fights, and oh my goodness, they were fascinating as a kid. They were really fascinating, man. I never actually rush into to party fight or anything. For me, that was fun. Watching two roosters go at it, just to control that hen over there. Oh my goodness, that was that was a joy for me to watch. So having those looking back at some of those little memories as a kid growing up, makes me laugh sometimes. I personally, I mean, I don't feel guilty talking about this, because I wasn't, I mean, I did not condone hurting animals or anything like that. you know, like me hurting another animal, or a neighbor, another kid hurting an animal. But when two animals, you know, get into a fight, I just sit back and watch. I just sat back and watched, because for us kids, many of us, that was fun. So what were some of the things that you as a kid enjoyed, you know, though, um, you know, a lot of people might object somewhat to just sitting back and watching these animals get into a fight. But for us back then, it was just, you know, that was an ordinary thing. That was a regular thing. That was not a big deal, right? So I want to know, what was as a kid, did you have these kind of experiences, you know, with animals getting into fights, and how did you deal with it? Did you just sit back and watch like I did, and you know, it was a kind of a fun time experience for you? Or did you get in and part the fight? Did you have a lot of animals around your home? And did they get into fights sometime? Like, you know, you can recall like two rams, like goats, you know. Two male goats would go at it, and the horns would be like slamming. You know, was that fun for you to watch? For me, that was fun. You know, so let me hear some of your experiences. You know, leave some comments in the comment section below, and if this, you know, if these are the kind of videos you like and you found this entertaining, subscribe to the channel. All right, so until we talk again, you know, until we meet again, take care of yourself and be good. If you can't be good, be careful. All right, take care.